Hello, everybody. Welcoming all of you to this session on AI. We have with us Shalini Kapoor, who's the co author of AI for You, the new game changer. We also have Pankaj Rai, who's the Group Chief Data and Analytics Officer at the Aditya Birla Group. And I'm Irina Ghosh, the CEO at Microsoft India. Today, what we hope to do in the course of this discussion is go a little deeper into this fascinating book that Shalini has written, AI for You, the New Game Changer. We'll keep it as a free flowing dialogue, getting to know Shalini as to what went behind the scenes, why she thought about this interesting and fascinating topic, and how she went about doing it, and also hearing from each other what's happening in the world of AI. So, Shalini, let me start with you with the first question. Over the last 24 months, more than any other time before, AI has actually assumed a pivotal position in the boardroom conversations more than what it was, right? And what we really see is that AI is being used by the boards to change the status quo and to kind of make paradigm shifts. What's your view on this? What's going on?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Irina. Thank you, Pankaj, for having me here. And I'm very glad to share some of the thoughts that I have put together in this book, AI for You. And you are right, it has come into more boardroom discussions because AI is no more within the lab. It's no more with the data scientists. AI has to be enabled and it has to be implemented by enterprises across all industries, which means that AI is also about strategy now. There has to be a strategy put in place together where organizations have to think and also deliberate upon that what are the business drivers which they want to drive with AI. So AI is pretty much interlinked with strategy. AI is about culture. That what is a culture in the organization that you want to bring of innovation, of incubation, of starting new business initiatives and new thinking. So it's pretty much a discussion of leaders because new businesses are getting launched. Who thought about a watchmaker, starting a journey on Internet of Things and thinking of connected watches? Who thought about that a new company would be born with the data, right? So if we and in the book we talk about such examples where Big Basket is an organization which is born with the data. So it's about AI led companies, it's AI about AI born companies, it's about AI enabled companies. So organizations who have been traditional, they have to become AI enabled. There are new startups which have to get born and they are actually getting born and hence they are AI born. And AI led are those companies who are thinking of new business units, who are thinking of new initiatives which they can launch in the market with only AI as the prime driver. So it's no more a data scientist job, it's a CXOs who have to take the decision, and hence they are discussing about it in the boards.
No,
So, Shalini,
perfect. I love the part about the classifications you made about AI born, AI led, AI enabled, and the examples that you were giving. So, Pankaj, what's your view as to how some of these corporates, which are in these different scenarios, making paradigm shifts and changing things as they're thinking about the future?
yeah, in fact, and I was wanting to also ask Shalini that, but let me share with you what I am seeing. I am seeing that there are two places where people are one worried that what is going to do for us, and the other side they are also seeing an opportunity. So I see two different behaviors. Sometimes the same two behaviors in the same person, sometimes depending on the individual. And I think the worry a lot of people have with these technologies is about loss of jobs. Especially if you are a large, let's say, manufacturing organization, where workers don't necessarily have other alternate jobs. So people are worried that if this can lead to loss of jobs, what will happen to our reputation, what will happen to the community, family, all of that. On the opportunity side, people are thinking, what can I do, where can I go, what new customers can I go after, what new products can I do. So I think I'm seeing both of those in my sort of vantage point. But I was wondering, given that Shalini has been interviewing so many people and talking to so many people, wondering what is it that she has been hearing from some of the leaders in the boardrooms on what their views are.
Yeah. So I think as part of the book, I kind of did a journey and met multiple chief data officers, analytic officers, and chief AI officers. In fact, there are new roles which are coming up, and it's kind of a discovery of what's happening in the AI industry. I think the biggest thing people are talking about in the boardrooms is, first of all, how to be successful with AI, right? Because what happens is there are initiatives happening, there are proof of concepts happening on AI, but the main thing on people's mind is, which use case should I pick so that I become more successful and I have competitive advantage which my competitor is not able to do, right? So it's a kind of a game theory thing, that where do I put my money, where do I put my resources, where do I put my investment so that I have quick returns. Now there are no quick returns in AI, and that's what we talk about in the book, because there would be failed projects, we have to accept it, and the failures is not just about the technology is not good. Sometimes it's you put too much money, or you put too less money, or you put the wrong tools, or you have the wrong people, or you have not talked about, you've not changed the culture, and you have just given it to a bunch of data scientists and told them to just go and implement certain use cases. So there has to be a framework around it, and the framework is, there has to be a method to the madness, right? So that people can choose that this is the technology I can pick up, I have to experiment. And that's where the AI journey comes in. You have to experiment, you have to fail, you have to learn, and then only the flywheel starts moving, when there are momentum of several successful use cases across the organization. Your organization is undergoing a change, it's about a cultural change which everybody has to do together. It's the product managers, it's the designers, it's the content creators, it's the marketers, it's the advertisers. So it's here, there is a bunch of people who are moving together, there are a bunch of experiments you are doing, there is a bunch of innovations which you are doing, and figuring out that what is the right business driver for me. Is it cost efficiency, is it people? And when you kind of bring it all together, that's when there is a change which is seen. And when I talk to some of these organizations, for example, Kotak Mahindra Bank, right? They changed their thought process completely, and they had it started as an AI lab within them, but then the entire organization, the consumer banking, the retail banking, the various verticals within them, everybody was thinking, what is the product that I can launch with the help of AI? So it's a lot of mindset change which has to be done even at the front end desk, because your customer service person should not discourage the usage of AI. And we have seen examples where an insurance salesperson says, hey, I am the best person, and this AI is giving an insight which is not relevant. So the insurance agent is actually de-selling it, because he thinks that his job will go away. So what are the fears that we need to address upfront? And that's what the CXO team has to do, that's what the corporate team has to do. And when we bring it all together, we have much more power around AI.
Irina, you should share your views also. I mean, you have been at it for a long while. I'm sure you're meeting so many customers and peers and so forth.
No, I must tell you that, I mean, this is something that happened with us at Microsoft as well, right? I mean, when the advent of ML AI came in, at that point of time, I was looking at the role of doing the overall forecasting basis, what is there in the pipeline and how the overall things will be coming across for the quarter, quarter plus one, etc. And like, in any sales organization, there's a lot of instinctive way that we kind of take these calls on what the sales forecast has to be based on the pipeline hygiene, what has been the past way that we've done things. So when this advent happened about generating an AI-led forecast, there was initially a lot of first skepticism. So what we said was, the beginning of the quarter, when we are giving the forecast, we gave a forecast and we gave the same data to the team, to the engineering team which was creating this model, and say that you give us the forecast, right? So they turned the forecast to us in 48 hours, and we said that, okay, this is the match, non-match, etc. We waited for the quarter, and their accuracy was actually 86%. We were less than 80%. Now, then we kind of went out checking out as to what had happened. So, the way that model worked is that there were about 12 to 15 sources, which included our history of transactions with these customers for the last 15 odd years, the risk assessment score, the way, the kind of solutions which were there in the pipeline, etc. 15 such parameters basis which it was done. Then for the next quarter again, there was the skepticism was not there, there was caution. And again, I mean, it proved to be as good as it was the last time. The third quarter, we actually built trust in the model. And that is when it got modified over a period of time. And frankly, now, most of the things that we are doing in terms of the way we are looking at the forecasting of the numbers and how things will be coming up, there is a parallel way that we look at what the AI number generates. And because there's a one single version of truth which is coming, and there's transparency with which it is getting shared. So it is not like my data versus yours. It's like it's enabling me to make a better forecast. That is how, like Shalini, you talked about the culture working together in unison. That is how it got created. So that is something which remains with me always.
So
So
that is
Pankaj, how
actually
about you?
no, this is, you're triggering an interesting thought. And let me ask Shalini this, that someone like yourself who's in sales, and sales people are very worried about trusting all these models. They tend to trust their gut feel. So I wonder, Shalini, whether there are certain functions where the adoption is higher or lower, or are there certain industries where adoption is higher or lower? So have you seen any variation or any such trends on where AI is getting adopted, not adopted, so forth?
Yeah, so actually, I address the multiple fears around AI, and I address them quite in detail in the book, where it's fear of loss of jobs, fear of bias in AI, fear of it taking over you, right? It being the Star Trek and the science fiction that we are reading about, that it's so better avoid it, because it's going to take over us. And of course, it's sometimes a fear of failure, right? That the tech, and sometimes it's just fear of technology, that it's technology. So I'm talking about that AI is a mindset. It's no more a technology. It's not a technology like Kubernetes or say Python, right? Which we can learn and we can say we know it, right? And some of the we have so many technical folks on that. AI is a mindset, because everybody has to adopt it, and the change has to be brought in at every level of the organization. So there is a change management which has to be done, because AI is there now, right? And all the roles which are played in the organization, they have to get together in a design thinking workshop to build it all together. It's no more given to a data scientist and go and program it. It has to be done together, and that change management, that thinking change, has to happen across the entire organization. And I also talk about that sometimes you might have to change your organization structure, right? Like, in fact, we have taken an example of Flipkart used to have a centralized way of handling data scientists, but then they distributed it, and they said that why not, for every product line we have data scientists working right there with that product manager to launch it and to see immediate customer feedbacks which can be incorporated. So it's a small silo which is existing pretty much as a decentralized manner. So there might be a need of changing your organization and making it so that adoption increases, right? So there might be, within sales you have to put up a AI unit within sales itself, right? So I'm trying to blend the various functions together. Now, when I interviewed, I found a lot of good use cases for in financial services, and that's why I have covered banking and insurance quite a lot. Kotak Bank, Max Life Insurance, Investnet Yodeli, they make a lot of financial algorithms for their customers across the globe. Life sciences and health is another big area where AI is helping so much, and hence I've covered Nirmai, which is a cancer of. They do thermal scanning and they use AI to detect breast cancers. Healthify Me is a startup, right? They give diet plans, nutrition plans, all done by AI, and the AI model is able to address to so many consumers, which they were struggling with adding on nutritionists to their portfolio, and how much of nutritionists you can do, but you can learn from the dietary habits of people. So that's a big area of innovation. Then again, Viome is a organization it's still not in India. It's in US right now, but they are doing great advancements on on your swabs, and based on gene sequencing, that they can actually talk about the diseases that you might have, or the nutrition plan that you need to take based on some of the microbes analysis that they can do. So these are some areas where there is a lot of innovations happening. Of course, people give examples of Uber, of Netflix, of that's very consumer centric. But if you look at the enterprises, the way financial services has picked up on AI, the way life sciences has picked up on AI, and a huge opportunity on societal problems with the government itself. Because in the government, and I do talk about India AI, which is an initiative by government of India, to see that how large problems of scale with citizens, of education, of health, of actually predicting in a you can predict about tuberculosis, that where the disease predictions is happening based on genome sequencing. You can do neonatal analysis that you can do. So there are so much of opportunities in that space, which is also taking shape, and a lot of it is with startups as well as with traditional companies. So these are the sectors definitely where we see a lot of uptake happening of AI.
Lovely.
Shalini, these financial
Pankaj,
services in healthcare, I mean, I'm just curious because financial services in healthcare are so risk averse. They're so worried about doing things. And frankly, we are also worried about trusting AI with our money and our health many a times. So I wonder, how is it that these people are the leaders in doing it? I would have expected, some other industries who are less risk averse doing innovation, but I hear the other other way around.
Absolutely. And I think trust is a very important area. Most of them are looking at it. They're establishing AI ethics councils within the organization where they are their own guardrails, because biases are all within us. It's a societal problem. It's not a problem of AI. And people say AI is biased, but it's actually bias is all between all of us, right? And that gets manifested into AI. So they are setting up ethics council with an ethics board to actually see that how the model is progressing over a period of time. Is there a drift happening? Is there a certain kind of, so bias can be in data, bias can be in model, it can be in any ways. So we look at various aspects of a bias on the models. And these organizations, they are, in fact, you'll be surprised to see the amount of new products they have been able to launch and the agility they have been able to do. And with the benefit of cloud being there, it has kind of just manifested itself in every aspect of financial services. They are risk averse from a data perspective, so they are keeping the data anonymized, they are keeping their data safe. But it's not about the processing. You can do the processing on the data and get such good insights which can define the decisions that you take for your customers. So risk averse is more about the data privacy, which can be taken care of by a lot of other methodologies.
totally agree. And I think that the agility which the banking customers have gained by having gone in for AI, customer affinity, customer acquisition, etc., far outweighs that. On a similar note, Pankaj, in manufacturing, coming from traditional organizations or people who are diversifying into net new forays, AI is again being a differentiator. Speaking to the point that Shalini was talking about a mindset change, creating the culture. How are you seeing this in Aditya Birla
Yeah,
or
in fact,
anywhere else?
yeah, I think the manufacturing area, contrary to popular perception, I mean, folks have been using statistical quality control and data and many of these things for a long, long while. So many a time, those people did not use this terminology, but they were very, banking on data. So I think in many places we actually don't have such a big challenge because people are used to using the historian data, using it to do something, and then of course you can do much more advanced work in the AI world. So I think what we are seeing in the manufacturing side is the benefits are very tangible. You have a let's say an electrolyzer, and you are able to predict when the failure will occur. There's a real value. They can see that, oh, you're able to predict, which if through my gut feel or through my other method I was not able to do that. So I think in manufacturing we are able to see the benefits much more tangibly because the machine failure, the product quality, a real tangible outcome that some of those people have been doing through traditional methods, and now suddenly they find that this model is able to make them do it better. So I'm actually finding that quite easy to adopt, because the benefits are easy to see very quickly. Now there are the challenges are actually in some older factories where the data is not available or the quality of data is poor because the machines are old and so on and so forth. So I would say that I would divide the world of manufacturing in the ones which have data and which have the the right modern factories where it's actually quite easy. In the older ones, you have to then install those equipment to make sure that can be done. But I think once someone has tasted success, the others are wanting to do that, because you have a success somewhere, and then you go to the other one and say, okay, we also want that. So I think this is something which I'm quite excited that the manufacturing industry is adopting. The only thing with manufacturing is it's not easy to scale. What works in one factory may not just scale to another. While on the world wide web, if you did something in one country, it's easier to go to another country or something. So I think that the timing and the scaling takes a while, but I think the adoption is quite good.
I'll,
Very
I'll,
well summarized. Yeah.
I'll just take an example there. So I interviewed a company called Locus. So Locus is into supply chain optimization, and they work with a lot of manufacturers and the entire distribution sector to do route optimization and order fulfillment. And the way they have worked with some of the large organizations and changed their supply chain and improvised it by just using the right AI algorithms is amazing. It's amazing to see how they have done it.
No, you're absolutely right. There also you can see if the thing took 5 days and it's now taking 3 days. The transport cost per kilometer was X, and now it is X minus 20%. So I think the tangibility of those benefits is quite easy to get, and people get excited and want to do it more and faster. So I think the scaling does take a while, because there is sometimes hardware investment and other types of investment. But I think I don't see any major barriers from a change perspective in the world of manufacturing. I think people like the impact, and when they like the impact, they're willing to go all out.
Very true. So, Shalini, having seen so many people jumping into the bandwagon, do you also sense that there is a little bit of fear of missing out or FOMO if people are not going in for it? And in that haste to see that, what do I do for AI? Making a choice on the right use cases, which is giving definitive outcomes. How do you think people are kind of looking at this in a very outcome driven manner?
Absolutely, and this is exactly a case I take that so it's a game theory example where and you can see that the advantage of picking up something and the disadvantage of not picking up and putting your weights into something, right? So it's a very well established game theory principle. uh, so there are a lot of organizations who have the fear of missing out, and they feel that if they don't do it, the new age companies will take them over. So for them it's extremely important that they know the exact methodologies and tools to do it. And I have taken example of Axis Bank. I've taken examples of actually Kotak Bank also, because Kotak Bank was a traditional bank and they changed themselves completely into this. And how these companies, they have to make themselves AI enabled, because if they don't do that, they're going to miss out, and there might be a new bank born only on data and and kind of reaching out to their customers. So how do they pick the right use case? What are the business drivers? Do they look at money? Do they look at skills? Do they look at culture change? What tools should they pick up? How should they define their use cases? Should they define their use cases based on unlocking the data? Should it be from a customer service perspective? Should it be from uh, reinventing some of the old processes? And what are the technologies, right? Because their technologies for each one of them is very different. It could be a data driven, it could be models driven, it could be driven by just reach to the customer, and you definitely need a chatbot to be able to do that. And most of the people start with that low hang fruit of a chatbot. But then how do you move up the ladder? So there is a AI journey that they have to follow, and that AI journey is about, you start with proof of concepts in some of the areas, and then you get into a stage called AI infusion, where you are actually infusing AI into your existing processes. And you are saying that what will be the percentage change I can get if I can either reduce the process or make it more efficient or make it more cost sensitive. So you do those kind of changes in your processes based on the business outcomes, and you do multiple of these experiments in the AI infused stage. You are looking at all the processes. It could be a customer call process, it could be a supply chain process. You're making an infusing AI, and you are actually thinking how AI can make this process absolutely different. So you have re-engineered all your processes, and then you get into an AI transformation stage because you have reaped the benefits. And again, it's a concept of a flywheel, right? That you there is a little bit amount of failures that you will have, but when you have momentum across the organization on small of these processes, you reach a stage where the organization is in a transformed stage. And that's when they reap benefits of AI. It will not happen, in a 1 month, 2 month, 3 months kinds of a project. It has to be 6 to 9 month projects with multiple of them happening at the same time, and everybody engaged in it. And sometimes you have to, it is very leadership driven. It has to come top down, because if it's bottom up, it'll never have that impact. So to have that right impact, it has to be top down and driven with the outcomes. Otherwise it'll get lost and it'll become again a technology and not a mindset.
Very
So,
well
Shalini, you
said.
talk a lot about the framework and the culture part and the flywheel. I mean, let's say, I'm a CEO of a company that you are advising. How would you go about telling me that what should I do? Where should I start? Because culture is a very big word, and it takes a long while to change culture. I might need to change people. I might need to change structure. You alluded to all of that, and these are very difficult, even in the best of times. And AI is anyway, evokes much more emotion than many other things. So tell me, how do you advise someone new that how do you go about it? What should you do, and what should you be worried about? What should you think
Yeah.
about, and so forth?
So my short answer to this is, I'll tell the CEO to read the book and gift it to all his leadership.
And distribute it to everyone in the
To
company.
all his leadership,
That's
yes. Yes, because you know,
I like that.
these are two chapters in the book, right? Actually, that how do you strategize and how do you change the culture? But to give a synopsis about that, see, the CEO has to first of all look at the organization, and look at the organization. What are the And that's what all CEOs do, right? They know what their drivers are, and those drivers, how do they get implemented with AI? And sometimes, like what I talked about, the organization culture has to change, the structure has to change. Maybe hire a chief analytics officer like Pankaj, and have them report directly to them, right? I mean, that itself is a big step in itself, because you're not saying it's an IT department thing. It's something which the CEO cares about. And you are aware of, so you are the bridge between the CEO and the entire team. So that's one of a very big step. That how do you take it out of the lab? And there is a very good case study where on Max Life, where I've actually talked to Manu Lavanya, who's the chief digital officer, and he talks about how their organization was a small organization, and then it became the CEO's main mandate of changing and bringing out the change in the organization, and which changed the focus, the investments, the new businesses, the actual change at the actuary and the statistician level was happening. But that can happen only if the change is driven from the top, and the CEOs have to understand the morals of what that flywheel contains. And there is another example where on investment Yardley, where Pramod Singh is the chief analytics officer. He actually flew his entire team for 3 days. The entire CXO team logged, and everybody being presented by data scientists and by business analysts as to what that model means, what how that, so that they understand. The language of AI is so important for people to understand. So I cannot say, I'm the CEO, I don't understand what structured and unstructured data is about. I don't understand what a learned or a supervised model is. Actually, you need to get into understanding the language of AI, so that you understand what your teams are suggesting to you. So the change has to be about sellers getting into these 2 days workshops, are doing that AI for all understanding, because you cannot leave it. If you leave it, you'll be left behind. As simple as that. So it's about getting all of them together into one room, and and just discussing the language of AI.
Yeah, and you also mentioned about a decentralized model in your discussion earlier. So, do you propose one versus the other, centralized, decentralized, or what is it that you are promoting as an idea for how to structure the organization?
So I've taken examples about the decentralized model, but there is also examples of what could should be done at the centralized stage. Because if you have data scientists distributed in your sales, in your merchandising, in your advertising departments, they might feel lost after some time, because actually these people might ignore them. And so I talk about an example where a data scientist over engineers and creates a model which, for a market which is like, the market itself is like $4 million, and you're spending, a good amount of investment to address a market which is just 4 million. Maybe you want to, look at some other example. So what has to happen is that there has to be common patterns, and common architectural methodologies. So you need some centralization so that you can keep all of them at the same pace, and people are not getting lost. Because that is also the problem of the industry, that people are actually building models to improve their resume values, right? They are talking about certain terms and conditions so that they have worked in that organization, and that adds value to them, their resume, it's means, right? So the business value should never be lost. So a centralized structure which has the right methodologies keeps an eye and focus on the methodologies, the frameworks, not to overdo, not to oversize, not to over provision, not to over engineer. That is so much needed, because given a choice, a data scientist would like to have all the features, right? But what are the right features which can bring benefits at the smallest time and the smallest investment? For that, a centralized structure is also needed, but distributed, working very directly with the people on the field.
And how do you quantify the impact? Because a lot of companies will say, "Okay, I spent so much money. Where's the impact? Where's the dollar?" How do you see that impact being talked about?
Very valid question. A lot of people asked us this question. So we actually included a chapter on this, which is about the. I,
Chapter one. Let's start with impact.
Let's establish that it's needed.
yeah, yeah. So it's about, and I thought, when I was thinking about it with my co-author Sameep, and I was thinking, that how do we go about it, and who are the best people who figure out where to put money in? Who are the best, right? It's the VCs.
Yeah.
So I went to a VC, and Pi Venture Fund is. I talked to Manish Singhal, who handles deep tech, and I said, how do you evaluate which is a good AI, and which is a good AI startup where you need to put money in? And he shared a framework with me, which I have adopted in the book, and I've changed it more for AI perspective. And it talks about that, how certain use cases are very scientific, how certain use cases are very innovative, how certain cases are very easy, and it just doesn't use any big AI technology, but they are the easiest for you to develop, implement, and reap benefits on. So as an organization, you need to do that. You have to play some long term bets. There are certain short term bets. You might put money in short term, you might put money in the long term bets, because you see a benefit coming out of it after maybe 5 years. So how you put your how you create that basket of use cases, which some of them give you immediate benefits, and ensure that you don't lose the market share, you don't lose the visibility, you don't have competition taking over you, but also have investments into certain portfolio with AI, which can help you invest for the future, and they might be more long term. So the AI resonance framework that we are talking about in the book actually creates a grid about all these kinds of use cases, and every organization should do that exercise for themselves. They have
Right.
to take that framework and do it for themselves to see that which use cases fall in which space.
Now, one thing,
Irina,
Shalini, since there's so much which is happening in this world, so one is a change management for people internally to get used to using these kind of models and have an appreciation for it. The second thing is also getting the right talent from the market
Yeah.
towards ensuring that you're kind of ahead of the curve to know this. How did you see organizations creating a balance of this?
Yeah, and I think the organizations are struggling here quite a lot. That was another reason for me to pen the book, because I could, I could see and all that there are a lot of talent hunt which is happening. First of all, they are confused in what roles I should hire for. So in the book, Sameep and I have talked about that. First of all, what are the, if you're putting an AI team together, what are the roles that you should look for? Right, it's not only data scientists, they could be, it's an expensive skill, by the way. You should not spend all your money on just getting the data scientists. You have to get data engineers, you have to get architects, you might have to hire what is called as an AI ethicist, someone who's just keeping your conscious and is sure that there is no bias. You could be doing and making investments in content management. So putting the team together and then ensuring that there is a talent roadmap for your existing talent. You have to re-engineer your existing talent, you cannot leave them behind. So there could be workshops, there could be trainings, there could be hackathon that you do just to create awareness amongst everybody. So there is a full skill map that needs to be planned for even existing employees, because they need to re-engineer their skills. Now there are so many courses in the market, so I don't get into, in the book I don't get into the details of which course is good or that course is good, because that's not what the objective of the book is. But it makes you understand that how you need to re-engineer. So I take examples of a, there is a lady I talk about, who works for Allstate, and she, Amita is the name, and she does just a 1 year course. She does vendor management, and she has to do analytics on vendor management, and she takes a 1 year AI course. And she kind of re-engineers her skills so that she can create better AI insights about vendor management. So that kind of re-engineered an existing person, and a person who's there in the industry for a long time, but she completely engineers her skill set based on that. So the re-engineering part is how you need to invest, and how, what are the, what are the things that you need to map between your job and the skills that you need, is what we look into the book. Because talent is really hot, and managing it and doing it at the least amount of cost is also important, because sometimes you might just want to do a workshop for people, and you don't need to spend too much into that. So there are methods and means of that, which we cover in the book.
And Irina, you also talk to so many clients, and you are in the business of technology where it becomes obsolete and people have to relearn. How do you see people training their internal talent versus buying from the outside? Because everyone would love to make sure that their people can get trained, and Shalini alluded to that. So, how much of that you think is possible in this field of AI, or you think we have to just go keep hiring from the outside?
Not really. I think there's a lot of merit in driving tech intensity within the organization, because people are also looking for the next skill set, which is kind of being a game changer in the future, right? And AI, at one level, it's intuitive because you're kind of thinking about what the use case, etc., would be, and then you kind of look at the technology which is driving it as well there, right? So I just feel that if people have the flair of technology and the love of data, I mean, with the Forrester prediction that less than 1% of data in today's world is AI generated, which will be 15% by 2025. So, which means that you are really thinking that in a banking scenario, say I write a mail to SGFC and I'm getting that I'll be getting a response in 24 hours, but that gets generated immediately with an AI model with the right set of responses, conversational AI, etc. So, I think if people have a flair, the organizations are very invested in developing the talent or putting a career journey for them in that direction. And that's a great mix. So, have a good mix of grooming talent internally as well as taking the right set of skill sets from outside so that you know what is kind of going on there. And then you kind of shape the future, Pankaj.
Thanks, thanks. Yeah, I think we have a few 5 6 minutes left, and I was thinking maybe we can ask one last question and try and summarize what we have been talking about. So, Shalini, what will happen to those people who do not buy and read your book?
Yeah, good question.
Fear of missing out on your book.
Fear of missing out. Yeah, I think it's a trend which will pick up. It will eventually pick up. This book is a catalyst to make it happen much faster. The better it reaches people and people understand, the better it is for them. But of course, my attempt is to make that journey smaller and faster for them, and have that agility within them. But there will be a lot of people who will eventually become part of this big motion of AI, because AI is an ecosystem. In that ecosystem, and again, I am talking in the book about India AI, which is the India ecosystem which is being set up by NASCOM, by METI, and by Government of India, where they are bringing in developers, and they are bringing in builders, consumers, users, all various aspects of them together. So somewhere or the other, the ecosystem is going to touch people, and there is a big ecosystem which is expanding, which is ever expanding. So definitely, it will be it people will get touched by it, and they will learn more about it. And the best answer is read the book and spread the book.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, Shalini. I really like the way that you explain things with so much simplicity. The fact that you did so much of a research, going meeting a spectrum of customers across different industries and different kinds of people, bringing that ethos into not just what's happening right now, but what it means to be future proof, future ready, and AI truly being a game changer. So thank
I
you so
think
much
maybe,
for these insights. Pankaj,
maybe
any last words from you?
yeah, I thought maybe I'll just summarize my takeaways, and maybe Rina, you can also towards the end. That I think this thing is becoming so pervasive, and it will continue to be so. So even if someone doesn't know why it is important, I think it's just good education, perhaps. And I'm not trying to sell Shalini's book. I'm just saying that it's a technology which is being talked about, and I think if someone has done all the hard work and research and put it all together, I would want to buy 10 copies and give it to my friends and say, just read it and just see what it is. Maybe you don't need it now, maybe you'll need it tomorrow. So I just look at this as pure learning and education, and then whether to use it or not will depend on the circumstances, depending on where our need is. But I do think that no knowledge is ever a waste, and I would encourage everyone to read it.
Yeah, yeah.
Truly, and I just feel that it's no longer a technology, like Shalini is saying, it's a mindset. I just feel it's one of those life skills. I mean, you kind of nobody will say later that what is the possibilities, etc. It will become all pervasive in what we are doing, who we are, etc. Kind of a thing as we move on. So that's the way I see it evolving. Shalini, with you?
Yeah, thank you so much, first of all, for having me here and discussing these important concepts. It's definitely very close to me. I took like 3 years to kind of interview different sets of people, put it all together in a framework, and they were all COVID years actually. Back when people were not meeting, and actually because of that, I got the time to sit down and put it in some framework which is for benefit of all. But actually this was the genesis, that there are so much of confusion of AI, there are so much of problems of AI that people talk about the art of possibility and the great things it can do, but they are so much scared of the fears, and the entire tech world is very confused about their status on this. So the idea is to make it simplify, and just simplify it, make it easy for people. And that's what my attempt is. So thank you so much for having me and making this simple for a lot of other people who listen to this.
It's a total
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you so much, Shalini. Thanks a lot, Pankaj. It was great to be with all
Thank
of
you.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.